So I
Good.
will go ahead and pass it over to you, Trina.
All right, awesome. And this is going to be more of a workshopy, Trina just spew whatever she wants to spew, if that's okay, as far as my thoughts around AI.
Cool.
It's gonna be a little informal, but we have a fun use case that I'm gonna walk everyone through. So it'll be hopefully make some of the ideas of what I'm thinking about when it comes to AI and real use cases. I gotta move this thing, it's like plastered over. Let me share my screen. And the slides are, I wanted to show the slides just because it's one thing that I use all the time that is AI based. And so sometimes it's just nice to see what people are using when it comes to AI on a day-to-day basis. I'm gonna hide my controls for a bit. Okay, is my screen, which screen is sharing? Are you seeing the presentation?
The Gamma dot app. Yeah, the presentation.
Okay. So really wanted to talk today about how AI can really play into data visualization and data prep. I think that was the one thing I heard from a lot of the students when they were going through the last data analytics class is like, okay, there's a lot of work for data management and data prep when it comes to data visualization. The reporting is the fun part, right? Getting the reports out, making them look pretty, all of that is the data behind it that's so meaningful. And as you start to get into the data and you understand how it's structured, how you can leverage it, how it ties into artificial intelligence, this is why we're in a data race. We're in a data war, actually, between being able to, whoever has the best access to the most data is the one that wins. When it comes to artificial intelligence, the importance of your data, the validity of your data, the insights from your data, how well it's managed, and really those that have access to data are the ones that win the race, right? That's going on right now. But as I dug into this, I was like, how do I bring this down? Because it is an overwhelming world right now. I don't know. I'm trying to see how I can bring up everybody's beautiful faces here, kind of gauge the room. But I'm assuming everybody's feeling a little overwhelmed by it. Raise your hand or use your little hand icon if you're feeling that. I am. And I'm running an AI agency and I'm overwhelmed. The speed that things are developing, the tools that are coming out, the capabilities on a daily basis, it's changing quickly. And so a lot of what I'm seeing companies are looking for, I see probably three different things. First of all, they're leaning all in. They have the resources, they have the teams, they have the personnel, they have the data, they have things in place to be able to move forward and really take advantage of AI and integrating it into their day-to-day. You have kind of this middle ground area. It's like where they're kind of getting into Gen AI and maybe using a little bit. And, they kind of have we're just figuring it out, but we're really not sure how to really drive our business strategy with AI. And then you have the last use case, which is probably about 30%. And when I go to speak and I'm talking to individuals, it's usually about 30% are just like, this is too much. I'm not sure where to start. I'm afraid that my data will be stolen. I'm afraid of security and identity potential concerns. And so they just completely opt out. But what's happening if you do that, your employees are going to be doing it anyway. How many of you have never used AI? Okay. People are doing it anyway, right? So if you have a company that's saying we have a zero AI policy, guess what? Employees have found the benefits of using AI and they're doing it anyway. And so you're more exposed from a data and security risk perspective by not leaning in and training and learning this. And I'm really glad that Allison started this cohort with an AI first focus as you get started out, because you're going to find the more you can find tools and processes that incorporate AI, it's going to make this work a lot faster to learn and faster to be able to deliver your projects. So excited to kind of go through this use case today. I'm going to talk about just a couple alternate use cases that I think not many people really think about, that came up for us at Tech Moms just this last week. We are going through Salesforce migration. So I'm going to use a very real use case, and I don't have it all figured out. So that'll be the fun part of today's presentation, is that I'm learning as I go as well. And so last night I ended up going down a lot of rabbit holes, trying to learn. How many of you get into that? You start learning something and it's like, oh, squirrel, this and that. And like, okay, now I'm learning this. Now all of a sudden I'm like learning Azure. I don't even know how I ended up down that path, but you end up in these pathways that can distract you. So try to stay really focused on, okay, what do I need to do? What are the tools that are available? And I use AI to train me, because like I said, we're all learning. We're all trying to figure it out. The more you can incorporate, I just use Chat GPT. I've used Copilot. I'm going to talk about both of those things today. Last night, for the first time, I used Google Cloud Vision to be able to do the use case for today. So I'm learning platforms as well. So don't feel like you're behind the curve. You're at the leading edge of the curve along with everyone else, which is the great opportunity here of you are positioned in a place to where if you are leading out in learning AI, you are going to be ahead of the game. There was a quote I heard a long time ago, and even this morning, I received the same quote. I subscribe to a few AI newsletters, and it basically says, it's not AI that's going to take your job. It's the person that knows AI that's going to take your job. And so all of you are the people that are learning AI. You are going to be taking those jobs, and you deserve to take those jobs, right? So own that, lean into this space, learn as much as you can, leverage it. Always be asking, how can I use AI to do this? And I'll share one more example before we start getting in. We were working on some financial analysis for Tech Moms in our strategy, and doing some forecasting. And I was like, okay, I've got my spreadsheet, my handy dandy spreadsheet that everybody loves, right? And I was like, okay, I'm going to have AI teach me how to create the formula that'll allow me to do some comparison and some analysis on our future forecasting. And it was taking me probably 15 minutes to figure out the formula, even with AI. And I get it in there and I kind of figure it out, and I'm like hammering through like how to do this, spending all this time trying to figure out, but AI was helping me. And then all of a sudden I had this thought of like, why am I trying to figure this out? I could just have AI do it. And so I just gave the instructions. I uploaded the file and I said, hey, take this file and format it and do this. And it did it for me. I didn't even have to know the formula, right? It's sometimes we have to have this mindset shift when it comes to AI of like understanding just how powerful this tool is, and leaning into how you can have it do the work for you. You need to know what the work is that needs to be done, know how to prompt it, know how to ask the right things. But once you get that, you're not having to do that really hard work. Let it do it for you, right? That's the opportunity that I'm seeing in AI. And
And I'll
I'm
just jump in, Trina, and mention this semester we created an AI policy, which we didn't have last semester.
okay.
And the idea being with the AI policy is being able to critically think about what AI is doing for folks when they are using it with their assignments,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to note when they are using it, they can add, this is how I used it. I used ChatGPT or I used Bing,
Yeah.
so that we can all kind of understand how we're utilizing it. And then this is for the class. We're going to be manually learning Excel and manually
Yes.
learning all these things, SQL, especially when writing code. It's really important to know the basics. But once you get on the other side of knowing the foundations, then you can use it as an assistant in
Yeah.
analyzing the data. So I
Yeah.
just want to
Thank
make
you.
that call out.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. I don't want it to replace your learning at all. And really getting in and learning the fundamentals first is going to make it more powerful in the future of like, okay, now how do I leverage it as you go forward? So thanks for calling that out. All right. Well, let me move forward here. Let's see if we can. Okay. So first of all, I used AI to create this PowerPoint. So there's this app I use, and I use it for all of my presentations, proposals, readouts. I am all in when it comes to this because the number of hours I was spending, first of all, to create a PowerPoint when I could just say, here's all the content I need, create it, has been opened up a lot of hours for me because I have to do a lot of client proposals, a lot of readouts, a lot of information, and here's my number one benefit for AI. Um, for years, Robin has said, "Hey, Trina, can I just review all of your posts and your content before you send it out? Because you typo a lot." Spell check. I don't spell, I just like get stuff done, right? And I'm like, thank heaven I can actually use it to clean up all my grammar at least before I send things out. So Robin doesn't have to take on a secondary job of being Trina's proof editor. So that's one good thing that I've found as I move forward. So if you ever want to learn about it, it's gamma.app that I use to create it. It's pretty amazing. And if we have time, I can go back and show you how I use it. But really for today's session, I'm going to do, it's not a comprehensive, this is lying because it's AI, I didn't edit it. We're going to go through a very specific use case that I'm currently working on and in process of working on, leveraging AI to be able to help with our Salesforce data migration and visualization work. So by the end of this, I just want you to be able to see how you can take a specific business problem or business use case and think through what are the AI tools and then use AI to help train you on how to figure it out. Because we're all learning and there might be new things that come out that we're not aware of. And so you can use tools like Perplexity that then does web searches and can help find recent data. But we also want to talk through the potential biases in the AI models and how to be aware of those. There's things also about not all data is perfectly accurate. We were joking the other day, I was working with a client and we were on doing a training on an AI, custom AI GPT we'd created for them. And we were talking about, it's got about a 5 to 7% rate for hallucinations, just make up data. So you have to keep an eye out for that. And, some days it has bad days and you'll run the exact same query you've done like 100 times before in the same prompt and it will go off the rails. And like we talk about, it must have been having a bad day or something, right? Kind of like a human. So you do have those weird anomalies that come up. So it's not perfect. It's good to understand that, understand that it's a way of simplifying, being more creative, being able to identify potential things you haven't thought about before, do kind of some of the simple lifting, but you still need to review and scan and be aware of potential hallucinations. When I was at MIT, they called them cancers. I've never heard that term before. That only within that class did they call it that. But they called things like bias in the AI models a cancer. It's something that is destructive, and we need to be aware of it. One other thing I'll add is this last year, when we really started kicking off in providing AI courses and training, we did a certification for tech moms. I don't know if anybody came to that. We did a AI certification back last spring. If you went to that, you can raise your hand, but there's a few of you. That's great. So I don't know if you remember, but at the end of the class, somebody raised their hand and they asked the question, there's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of bad actors out there, right? That are doing really, deep fakes, manipulation, all of those things that are impacting us as a society and other ways. And they asked the question, well, who's going to take care of that? And I said, that's you. The reason we need tech moms and we need everyone coming to the table is we need more broadened mindsets joining in to be more inclusive, to remove the biases, to remove these cancers that are out there that are creating the biases. And if we don't have all of your minds in on this, guess what? We're going to have more bad actors out there influencing. You need to be the influencer. And so just recognize that's you jumping in here, you scaling up and learning these technologies and being part of the solution. You are the good actors, right? And we're creating good actors to come into this space and really help in overcoming these challenges. The more we allow the bad actors to run and say, that's not me, the bigger impact we're going to have to our society. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to just start with that by thanking you because we need you. The society needs to shift and you're part of that. So exciting stuff, right? All right. So when we talk about AI powered data visualization, that just sounds so heavy. Powered data visualization, transforming insights. So the use case that I had that we're going to be going through is really unlocking deeper insights. And for tech moms, it really comes down to us being able to say, did we make an impact? Did we fulfill our mission within tech moms to be able to really benefit and drive the benefits for our students? And did we utilize our finances and our donors' investment into this work effectively? And to do that, we rely heavily on reporting. When we do grants for tech moms and we're getting funding from, large corporate to large foundations or even individual donors, they're expecting us to utilize this money effectively for the outcomes for each one of you. And so to do that, we really rely on a lot of data and reporting, the surveys that you're all taking, right? We had somebody do as their capstone project, looking at all of our survey data and outcomes year over year, which was amazing. It was unlocking those deeper insights is really important for us and something that we're always working towards, right? And to be able to do that, we need to make sure we've got the data. Being able to pull that into our core reporting systems, being able to visualize on it. And without it, we can't do anything. We can't report out on it, which then allows us to empower our decision making, being able to say, did we, drive impact? Did we see results based on the investments that we're making in interview coaching and resume reviews and job placement and all of these interactions that we're having with you? Are we creating success? And so by having that data, it allows us to be able to say, okay, what is going to be the most impactful? One of the things that an assumption I have is that internships really drive high impact future success. And so I've been kind of leaning in on that, but do I have the data to really show it yet? No. Do I have the data to be able to show the investment we've made in each student? No. And so this is some of the work that I have in progress and kind of big picture of like, we really need to get the data, clean it up, make it usable, get it into our systems, get into standardized reporting so that our executive team can make decisions on where we're going to invest our time and resources going forward. So any questions before Mike? I'm kind of very theoretical right now. We'll get into the details, I promise, but any questions or anything as of yet? All right, we're ready to rock. Sounds good. See if it'll advance here for me. Okay. So here's the use case. We are doing a Salesforce data migration from, we used to be on a Salesforce system called Nonprofit Success Pack, and they came out with a new cloud-based version called NPC or Nonprofit Cloud Salesforce. We've been running on Salesforce for the last 3 years and are in the midst of doing this migration to the latest platforms to set us up for our future success. Part of that, and this is kind of fun, just side note, we're doing this as a state-funded return to work program. So everybody working on this project are return to work moms. And I have 4 Salesforce admins now that got their certification, and they're doing all of this work to migrate our system. So that's kind of a fun side note for you of some of the work that we're doing. As we started to put together the approach for Salesforce, one of the things we moved over all our donor management. All of our student management is being handled in another system called Airtable. I don't know if any of you have heard of that. It's pretty common, it's out there, but it's not tied into any other system. So it creates this siloed data set, right? Of all of our student data, and being able to access reporting or combine that with other information like our programs or our donor data, or all the funding or activities that were happening. We haven't been tracking that. And so when each of you meet to do like a placement coaching or resume review coach, any of these coaching sessions, how many of you met with Sarah Baca in the past? A few of you. So all of those
Raise your
sessions,
hand.
yeah. A few of you have had those sessions with her, and she's been keeping this very nicely notebook, handwritten, of all of her interactions with you. So it's great for her and her background, but it's not shareable. I don't have visibility. I can't report on it. And so it's sitting in this notebook, right? So how am I going to get that data? Any ideas? Yeah, Valerie.
Scan it into ChatGPT and ask it to transcribe it for you.
Yes, good answer. So that's called an OCR tool. There's a few of them out there. It's an optical recognition something. I can't remember the full term. We can use AI to teach us. It taught me last night and I'd already forgotten. But the OCR tools are able to take like a text file, and then you take a screenshot of it, and you're able to then do some AI magic on it and move it in. Now, ChatGPT has some limitations, right? It doesn't do full OCR scanning of multiple files or be able to move it into a spreadsheet. So you can do like a one image and say, hey, just translate this into some information, but it doesn't, like I said, there's some AI tools are better than others. And so I started going down this path. I tried GPT and it wasn't working. And so I moved to Google last night and tested this out. So this is, let me show you. This is her notes. Okay. And so she just sent me a sample of 8 pages of notes back from last year of her conversations. You can see, website, so Sarah does a few things for us. She does our website development. She does a lot of our exit interviews, and she also does grant writing. So it's a mix of different types of work types that she's got within this notebook. Okay. Can you see, you're seeing my screen, right? Of the notes. You can see she's got some of the time things here. You've got the date, what the kind of some of the notes that she does some of our Google Ads stuff she was working on last year. So there's a lot of different of her activities. It's not just straight coaching, but what I want to get to, and what
Trina,
the
we
use
have a
case-
quick question in the chat. Does it make them more usable if you scan them as PDFs rather than images? Do you know?
I haven't done PDFs. I did PNGs because the platform I don't think was doing PDFs, but I know it can take that. I haven't seen a difference. We could do a comparison there though. I think it's a great question.
I have the Genius Scan app. I know the iPhones have it. With the Genius Scan, you can scan it in really easily as a PDF. And just I know
Okay.
with the Adobe, there's more recognition of the different elements, but I don't know if that helps with sorting. what's
Yeah,
what.
so I did pull up, let me see if I can find my little co-pilot conversation on this. So I was looking at various tools. Sorry, I opened a lot of different windows last night and I'm trying to find the right one. So Adobe is one. I haven't used it that can do this as well. Microsoft Azure was another one. And then that one though looked like it was mostly for like an API that you integrate to build other apps. So let me see if I can find. Okay, so this is just so where there was this OCR image for Azure AI that I was looking at. But the one I ended up going with was this Cloud Vision from Google. And so there are, like I said, this is a crazy time where you have a lot of different apps coming out. They can do similar things, but some can do like ChatGPT, like I found, it could read like the file and give me the text, but it couldn't put it into like a format. So these were some of the ones that I found here. Like I said, I used multiple AI tools just because I was prepping for this to see what works best, right? So these are the ones that Copilot suggested: Google Cloud Vision, which is the one I used, Microsoft Azure, their computer version, Adobe Acrobat Pro has some of those features and it can do PDFs. So to your point, yeah, we're good there. There's these other ones I'm not as familiar with. This Tesseract is if you're using Python. There's a Tesseract OCR engine that you can load into your library and use for if you're a developer and building an app. So anytime you're doing image recognition integration, there's some Python capabilities available. NanoNets. So you can see there's a lot of different ones and they have different suitable use cases. And so just use AI to say, here's what I want to do. What would be the best AI engine to use? Especially we're in this landscape where it's changing so fast. It's always good to say, okay, what's the one I should use that might be the most scalable, especially if you're developing an app or something that needs to be scalable long-term. How would you build that, right? And so it has these follow-up questions: which OCR tool is the most accurate? How to integrate with OCR with Salesforce? How can you explain how to use Tesseract? So you have those follow-up prompts as you learn. Just knowing that OCR is a thing is a start, right? And then you can learn how to actually get it done. I've never used, this is the first time I've used Google Cloud Vision was last night at 11 o'clock when I was trying to figure this out, right? So there's a few different things you can use there. And then I also use Perplexity. I ended up getting a pro version because I'm with Xfinity. And so they're like, oh, they're giving it to me for free. This one does a lot more of like when we're going to talk about things to be aware of when it comes to inclusion bias in AI, I use Perplexity to do some web searching and bring up the latest and greatest and reference articles. So it's really good at the web research. If you're doing research with current data and relevant data, Perplexity is another platform you can use for that. I use it for like a news feed, which is nice. It's got some good capabilities there.
Can I ask a question, Trina?
Mhm.
What would you say is the difference between like Perplexity and ChatGPT?
So Perplexity, like I said, goes out and does a lot of web research and reference
The
articles.
web. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So it does, and then it summarizes it for you. So you can do like a news feed or latest research. It's great for researching the latest articles. Where GPT, I think they've got a web browser now. So GPT does have something similar to Perplexity. But I think if you're
Mhm.
doing any type of web research, Perplexity is probably the better platform for that.
Cool.
Yeah. So you can see you can search images just like you do on Google videos, generate images. So it's almost like a replacement, but then a web researching tool, I would say, if you're doing kind of a research project or trying to find latest and greatest information, relevant news articles, media, that's where you'd use Perplexity.
And then just to make sure, can everyone see Trina's screen? Or are we having folks
well,
having a hard time seeing it? You're good. I can see your screen, but some people mentioned that they.
I think it's on the wrong screen. It's stuck
Yeah,
on
I need to
Panda's
move it
AI
over.
screen.
Move it over here. It's on my, like I said, I've got this secondary screen. I need to move over just a moment. It's coming, I promise. Oh, it's bringing the
What
wrong
screen
one.
should we be?
Here we go. Here's Perplexity. Can you see this now?
Nope.
No.
We see your docs.pandas AI.
Oh, hold on just a moment. I'm going to just share my screen and that will fix that. Let me find my panel again.
And just shout out to Marlene and Trissa for mentioning that. I was like, I can see the screen, but y'all are following along and like, not, we're seeing a screen, but not the right screen. So thank you for dropping that in
I've
the
got
Zoom.
two sets of browsers running, so that's why.
Perfect. Yeah, we
Um,
see it now.
okay. Yeah, so you can see like with Perplexity, you can see it's got all these source files. So it's actually
Yeah.
bringing in recent articles or, fairly recent web searching. And then like, as I was preparing for talking about, not just OCR and AI tools, but issues and considerations that you should have if you do an OCR implementation. Because there's multiple types of AI, right? You have generative AI, you have these OCR types, there's image, there's text to video, you have a lot of different AI models out there that support different capabilities. And so each one of those might have different considerations when it comes to a bias, discrimination, misinterpretation. Those types of things might change based on the model you're using. So it's good to be aware that each model is going to have its own nuanced considerations. Also, when you're developing potentially an AI policy within your group, like you did for this classroom, which I think is great. A lot of the companies I'm working with are just trying to figure out what is their AI policy, and what should they be considering when implementing a new product or incorporating it into a day-to-day workflow. So there's a lot to go over here. We'll come back to that, but when it came to, let me see if I can find the window that I actually pulled this from. So, in Google Cloud, I went to this prompt gallery and I put in an instruction here. And I loaded all those files so you can see this, right? All of those text files, she just took screenshot and sent me them. And then I asked it to read the text in this image, summarize this in a CSV downloadable file with dates, times, names, and notes. And so those end up being the columns that it puts it in. So if you're trying to extract data, whether it's it can be a handwritten note or even in a different format, a Word doc, somebody just threw all your notes at you, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Gemini, you can use different AI platforms to have that data organized into a table for you. So the outcome of this became this CSV comment, separated values, right? Where it took all of the notes and put it into this format. And so then what I did from here is and it gave me instructions actually on how to copy the content, how to move it over, which was nice. I didn't ask for this. It just gave me the guiding, how to paste it into a text editor, how to then put it into a CSV. So I put it into a notes file here, right? Just copy paste. Then I saved this out as a CSV format. and then came over, and I did it in Google because it's convenient. I just loaded that into a CSV, and this is what came out. So all those notes that Sarah had been taking, I now have in a summarized list, but there's another step here. What do you think's next?
I want to categorize the theme of the content.
Right. And the content's not perfect, right? It saved me a ton of time not manually typing in all this stuff or trying to decipher it. Took 8 pages of notes and put it into these 52 lines. But you can see it's like, this is when I moved. It just had the date. So I created this date over here. And I just went through, it took me maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes. Maybe, I don't know. I lose track of time. Maybe it was longer. But I went through and this is the copy of it. Went through and took that file. If it'll load. Come on, web. Let's go. Let's see if I have this one. This is that was the final one. I think this is, yeah. So this is the final file, but what I had to do, let me clear out this filter. What you can see is I just went through and I created this type of like, what type of activity, like I said, she was doing a number of different things for us, right? Whether it was website development or, Google Ads support, whatever that was, engagements with some of our clients, that information I had to categorize so that I could then filter it down and get just the things I want. Right now, I just want to load the coaching history from her engagements and who it was with into Salesforce so that I can then report out what are the benefits that we have provided to our students. And maybe Sarah had, 5 coaching sessions with one person and one with another person. Where are we investing our time? And there's a cost to that, right? Like our time spent there's a cost. We're paying our employees. We need to know where we're spending our time and money and how much time and money was invested in a specific resource. And did we see success from that? So getting those notes from her and being able to show the history of work that we've had, we can now report out on to our grant funders that, hey, we ran 50 resume review coaching sessions. Here's what that cost us, and here's what the benefit was. Make sense? So some of the other examples of this that we have are we have a lot of spreadsheets that have a call list or information that we've captured on different engagements over the years, or contact lists for outreach that we could then incorporate and send out information to newsletters for donor management and engagement. Just using AI to format our data and making sure it's ready to consume. And so, for example, once I take this and I get this final coaching sheet, right? So now that I've gone in and said, okay, here's all the coaching sessions, here's the date. I also made some assumptions here because you saw not every date was populated from that text file. So I said, well, it's between the 14th and the 16th. It's probably the 15th, right? So you kind of make some assumptions as you go. You can document those. Anytime you make assumptions as you're managing your data, you should be documenting your assumptions. Like, here's what I assumed when I did this, so that you can go back and track it in the history of that set of work you're doing. Hopefully that makes sense. Once you get that information, I also had to clean up some of the task names, or this might even be the student names of who they were. And some of it was kind of like, oh, it's over in the notes, or it's on another line item. So there was some data cleanup that I needed to do in order to prep this file. But now I've got a file, right? I loved this one. Jen loves data. All of you love data, right? All you data divas out there now. I thought that was cute. I had to highlight that for everybody. She likes to gather raw data and research data and putting it together. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. I like those notes. And part of this, it was kind of funny to read that while I'm managing data and cleaning up her data, right? It's like, yes, I love data. But it just
Hey,
makes it
Trina,
simpler.
we had a
Yeah.
question in the chat. Is the
Sure.
success being measured by increase in pay? How are you measuring
We can measure
success
a
with
few
the,
different things. That's a great question. So it's not just getting a job or pay, but we track. There's a number of different indicators that we look at that are our success rates. And I can send over our annual report. I think it'd be good to look at that actually. Let me just bring it up. You can go to tech-moms.org. And on our website, if you scroll down, you'll see a link to our annual report from last year. And we actually had some of the prior cohorts help us in this year's annual report, which was great. Let's see, scroll
Yeah, and
down.
that's that was part of the pre-work assignment is analyzing the technology applicant data, and then as part of the business module, they'll be analyzing survey data. So
It's cutting out
this
just
is
a
all
little
very
bit.
relevant.
yeah, Allison, you sound a little bit like a robot, but she said the pre-work stuff was analyzing the applicant data.
Yep.
Does that sound right? Allison, you might need a nod. Okay.
Oh, there it is. So it has a little, it'll drop down this annual report here. Sorry, connection's a little slow. But in here, the way that we track this are a few different things. So the annual report that we have you take is really critical for our mission. If you get those notes to take the survey, please take the survey. This is how we get future funding to be able to help additional women go through the program and even benefit you, right? And being able to provide future forward programming like data analytics. So from that report and the survey, we pull some key data. The net promoter and satisfaction rating are coming from your exit interviews. But then if you scroll down to, this is just demographic data, but these results, this is primarily what we want to be looking at. Have they taken a new position since finishing the program? Whether that's tech or non-tech, we just want to see that you're moving forward into additional opportunities, right? So about 47% since completing have moved on to a new position. Graduates that have received a promotion since finishing the program. Graduates who have taken additional education, because we know sometimes this is a longer process. It's not immediate, you're going to get a job. Sometimes you need to get additional education. And so 50% are in higher education or took additional education. So that's one of the things we're tracking. And then 44% have received a pay increase since finishing the program. And there's data in this report that's extremely interesting that I found for the first time using AI that gave me additional insights I had not been looking at in the past. And I'll share that in just a minute on the promotion rates. And then increase of annual pay among those who received a positive increase, 42% increase in annual pay on average. I think we should all be like cheering right now. Like that's freaking amazing, right? Of the success of this program that to get, and it's been going up year over year. And the reason for that is this information. And like I said, this came as I took our annual report last year for the first time, I threw it into AI and I said, what insights are you getting out of this data? What should I be looking at? What have, kind of give me your thoughts on it. This right here, promotion based on initial employment status. Respondents who were not employed when they started the program have a promotion rate of 32%. So once they get into their jobs, not only that, if they were employed at the start, they have a slightly higher promotion rate of 38%. So it's not just getting into that job. And sometimes I hear from our students, I'm like, well, I'm making less than I was before, but we're seeing that once you get in, your promotion rates are exceptionally higher once you've made that pivot and then start getting in, you get promoted at a faster frequency than the baseline standard. So if just something to keep at the back of your mind as you're moving forward in your path of, okay, it's not just how much am I making now, it's the exponential increase you're going to make in the future, right, of investing in this time and energy right now. So yeah, this was an AI win on my mind, from my mind. So this one right
Trissa, do you have a
Yeah.
question?
I'm curious to know if there's any studies you've done on qualitative benefits instead.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of the quantitative, but are you measuring
let's
the
go to
qualitative?
that. So one of the things that we added this year for the first time is that qualitative data. And we worked with our board of advisors and we came up with 4 questions, I think it is. There's a lot of great data in here. I'll let you guys go through this. It's a good one to just see how we're using data to run the program. Where is this? Hold on, I'll find it. We added 4 that are more about things like, do I feel more confident? Here it is. Do I feel more confident after taking Tech Moms? Do I have a better adaptability in order to be able to adapt and deal with ambiguity after Tech Moms? And then did I feel like my technical skills? So we have started to incorporate this qualitative data, as well as we have open-ended questions that you'll see. Let me see right here. We include kind of the testimonials. We read all of them. We pulled out a couple here, but we really do look at both the quantitative and the qualitative data, right? It's important to have both perspectives, because the individual feedback of like, it wasn't just that I got higher pay. I am a lot more confident across my whole life because of this program, right? That's one of the common things we have is like, I know I can do hard things. I know I can move through. I can deal with ambiguity. I can figure things out. And really our mission has shifted from, we are not just focused on technical skills. We are teaching all of you how to learn, right? That's our mission, is to be able to say, okay, I may not know it now, but I know how to learn it. And today's session on learning how to use AI is like the perfect opportunity of like, you have a coach, an expert coach at your fingertips now that's partnered in on your success, and use that. You don't know how to do something, we used to say Google it, now it's GPT it, right? Like, go out and learn as you go. That's why I end up in those distraction modes and go down so many pathways, is because there's so much data available to us. Now it's easy to get distracted. I have to like rein myself back in quite often. It's like, Trina, just get the PowerPoint done, get the focus done, right? I want to go out and learn everything. So hopefully that's helpful in kind of understanding where my head's at on getting this data using the ACI or OCR AI. Oh, I don't know why that's so complicated. To get the data that I need. Now, the last step I'm going to take, or I shouldn't say less, the next step, if you're like looking at this step by step, we have to extract the data, right? We've got to get it available. I had to transform the data. You'll learn about extract, transform, and load, ETL. That's a term in the data world you'll hear a lot, ETL. We're extracting the data, we're transforming it so that it's ready to load, and then we're loading it into our system so we can then report out on it and visualize it. Okay. So that's the ETL. We're going to now load that data into Salesforce. I probably won't do that live here, but let me just show a couple of things that will help you kind of understand how we're doing this. I think it's on this view. So this is our new Salesforce instance that we have set up. And the idea here, let me go back to our Tech Moms app, is that on here, we have cases that we would then load and assign the cases, like those coaching sessions that she put in her data. I would load those in as a case that has been worked with a student and load that into the system. So every one of our student data is not here now. That's why I can't do it live. But I just want to kind of show the idea is to first get all of those cases in here. And so when we're done here, we just have a test case at this point. It will load in all of that information. Like we said, we worked with, we'll add in the related student that we're working with. We'll log a call that we had with them and be able to have that data. Once I have the data in Salesforce, I can do a couple of things because I now have that within our database. I can then go to our reports and create reports from it. I can create dashboards from it that then show cases by origin and open status. How many times I can look at our total student number. So there's a lot of different ways we can visualize this as we go forward as far as just standardized reporting in Salesforce. Also, if I have it in Salesforce, I can tie into systems like Tableau, right, which is owned by Salesforce, or I can tie into Power BI, or I can visualize it into different systems. But now I have a standardized data set that we're now maintaining going forward. And Sarah will be now logging all of her cases directly in Salesforce, not in maybe her notebook, and then she adds them in here. But we're putting those processes in place that allow us to report out on that. So, like I said, I don't have the data yet, so this isn't going to look right, but I just wanted to share that a little bit with you. All right. Any questions just as far as like this AI to here, as far as how we got here, what we can do with it now? All right. Okay, I'm going to jump over to a tool I just found yesterday. Like I said, I discover tools every day. Like every day, I'm like, oh, what's this? It's a little squirrel chasing I do on an off and on a basis that I like to evaluate them and say, yes, this works, or maybe not, because for my clients, I sometimes want to be able to say, yep, use this, or no, don't even bother. Crystal, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I do the same thing where I call it rabbit holes, scrolling, all of the above. How do you decide which AI tools are good ones, which are not good ones, which are the ones, yeah, this is great. What is your deciding factor?
Yeah, it's a good question. We actually do AI readiness audits for companies. And the place I always start with an AI tool evaluation is, what is the business need? What is it going to solve for? What are the outcomes I'm going to expect from this tool? And can it meet them? Because a lot of times we'll start adopting things and then you get down the road and you're like, this isn't even solving anything. It's just creating additional overhead, right? The idea is to become more productive and not have to have a huge training overhead to be able to use it. Do I have to spend 2 weeks just learning how to use it? That like defeats the purpose, right? So so I'm going to be doing this one I had suggested when I did my, give me all of the tools that are out there for data visualization. This power drill one came up last night. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of an evaluation on it and see, can it work and what does it do? And I've only spent maybe an hour really looking at it, but I loaded some of our contact data. This is outdated, so it's fine to use it, but I created a data set within the tool and said, okay, you can do a couple of different things. You can create presentations. I tried it. It's not as good as Gamma. So I'll just put that out there. I didn't really care for the presentation side, but when it came to BI dashboards, here's what I think would be most value for all of you if you were, looking at just getting ideas. As you start to step into the data analytics space, it can be a little overwhelming as far as what types of reports should I create? What would be the right report for this data set? How do I figure that out? Right. And so let me see if I can. I created one yesterday. Let me see if it'll let me do it now. I basically took that data set that I loaded and I asked it to create a BI dashboard based on the data within that data set. And so I select my data set, right? And what it does, the AI goes through and it looks at your data set, and then it's going to make some proposals on the data report that you would want to have. So you can see it gave me a little bit of data set summary. There's 1,005. Oh, how rude. This worked last night. See, this is why free tools are tricky. Basically what it did, you could probably do this one time and it's going to pressure you to pay. We'll see. Because it did it yesterday. Did you see how many, maybe this is one of my evaluation points, how many times it's pressuring me to buy, and I'll be like, okay, after 5, I'm out. I'm not gonna buy. I don't like that. But it did a good job of just saying, okay, give me from that data set, when I click generate data report, it came up with a whole list of different ways of visualizing my data, which it was like, oh, I never thought about putting it into this type of chart or looking at the data in this way. So there are tools out here that can do this. I'm not saying buy this one, but I just wanted to show an example of taking a data set that you have, cleaning up the data so it's cleansed and ready to go. And I'm sure Allison has a bunch of these that she can refer to you as well, that can help you be able to just kind of go, oh, here's how I can look at this data and what perspectives or insights I might be able to get from it. You can do this in ChatGPT as well. I just have to do like more specific prompting though. And I have to be a little bit more clear on what I want my outputs to be than in something like this, where it does that kind of creative thinking of how I could use that data and what insights I could get. So just sharing that one a little bit. And let me just go back because I know we're running out of time. And we'll just kind of wrap up with some of these concepts on bias and inclusion. So here's one thing I'm just going to give you, because it's a big effort to be able to figure out, okay, is the system biased or not? How do you know? And they've done a lot of work. I think it's getting better. I'm not quite seeing as much of the bias statements, but I'll give you one story, I guess. And I'll send over this PowerPoint, by the way, if you want to use it for reference. But this was just kind of my step for how would I move all of this into Salesforce and what we're doing. But on the ethical consideration side, over the last 3 years, as I started to adopt AI more and more, when I saw bias, I tell it it's biased. Go back. This is wrong. You just gave a bias statement. Try again, right? It's the same things we should be saying in real life, but it's a lot harder to verbalize that directly to a person. Of speaking up and saying, okay, I think what you just said wasn't acceptable. Go try again. It's a lot easier to tell your AI to do that. And so I just would say, try again. Bias statement, not okay. Even as I created a custom GPT to create this presentation and do the work. And I had told it, I'm speaking to women. I would like to have it focused on women students, female students, right? I even prompted it when I went to go create the image, like for my GPT, it was of a man. And I said, reminder, I am speaking to women. I would like all the images, everything related. Please incorporate this into the GPT going forward. I was very explicit. Let me see if I can go and find it. In my GPT creation of knowing your audience and who I was writing this for, and put that into the GPT itself. Let me see if I can. I had it, it's just so slow. I don't know if it'll come up here. Let me see if I can find it. Because I think that, here we go. Let me edit this. Have any of you created a custom GPT? Let me just ask that first of all. Viewed. This is one that's really handy if you're doing a very specific use case. of being able to create your own. And we have trainings on it. I think they were recorded. We'll do more of these, but I created this AI, analysis mentor. So in the future, I can use this if I have data, I have specific things, like be an expert in DOMA. I told it what the expertise is that I want it to have, what the mission is. And you can see now, because I had to go back and correct it, your mission is to empower women with the knowledge and skills to analyze, right? I was very specific of who my targeted audience is and making sure it was tailored to each of you. And so that was one thing that I've learned to do as I'm developing. Now, if I have a broader audience, I want to be inclusive of men and women and not have those, then I would instruct it to say, here's my audience, who is writing for. Making sure you're inclusive, making sure accessibility is a consideration. How do you do all of those things, right? And you can ask the questions within it to say, what are the things I should consider for things like accessibility, sustainability, bias, inclusion? What do I need to incorporate as you build something out? And I think it's great for everybody just to have that as like a awareness of the importance of that. And I want to share an example of when this has not been good. I was in my class at MIT. I just finished up last fall, and I was doing an AI product design course. And one of the assignments they had us do is to use a platform called Quill. I think it was, we tested a few. I think the one that I was using was Quill, but we had to use Quill and then ChatGPT and compare the outputs of these different systems in how they would respond. And what the assignment is to have it write a story about a family that was dealing with financial needs, and they needed to go back into their career and have it write a story, right? So I follow the assignment. I do the prompts on each of the platforms, and this story comes up, and it says, yeah, this family is struggling because the wife buys too many shoes.
Oh my gosh. That makes me feel tired, Trina.
I know. And I was just floored. So like what my whole assignment was or response was, this thing is full of bias. The assumption that a family's financial circumstances are because the wife buys too many shoes is completely extremely stereotypical, biased, and sexist. So it's out there. It's real. I see it all the time in responses. And I think we've gotten better a little bit in some of these areas. A couple years ago, I was doing a marketing plan for tech moms and was looking for women working, right? All the images that came up on my search were women wearing lingerie, women in swimsuits, women caring for old people, women washing dishes. That was women working. No professionals, none. And it's built into our systems today. We need to be cautious. We need to be aware, and we need to make sure that the data and the way that we're building our tools is reflective of our true reality, which is not that, right? And so I just kind of I don't want to leave on a downer, but I think this is the opportunity. That's what gets me excited about the work that we're doing here with all of you, is that this is the opportunity for us to own that shift and change in AI and the work that's happening here. It's a huge opportunity, right? It provides a lot more access. You now have a personal trainer sitting next to you saying, hey, you've got this. Like, you can use it for that emotional support. Not just the technical knowledge, right? There's a lot of opportunity within it. So I'll stop and turn it over to Allison to continue on, but happy to answer any questions before we wrap up today.
I love all the questions. I'm so sorry. I do have one.
all right.
So let's say it's more around when you're using AI in projects, not school related, but rather business related, or let's say freelance work, stuff on the side, etc.
Mhm.
Um, are you required to disclose how much AI you use within the product that you're creating, or is there no requirements? Does it matter?
There's no set regulations as of now. I think that like there's some um let's take it from a different angle.
Okay.
Depending on who your clients are and who you're working with, they're going to want to know, right? How you're using data. And it builds trust when you are more proactive about explaining how you developed your products and how you made decisions regarding those products and how you're using their data. You're going to get a lot more buy-in. So, for example, if you create a chatbot AI agent on your website that's responding and they're providing data to it, it should have a disclaimer of like, this is an AI bot. We use our data this way. And right, because I think people are getting more and more used to it, but I think that just understanding that it's more of an ethical and a way of really engaging your clients in a way that they understand how you're going to be using their data. I think that it will be coming as far as where the regulations end up, but it's best to have an AI policy on your websites. In any tools that are using AI, you should be publishing how you're using their data and where it's at. There are privacy rules that do need to be considered that are legal. So all your PII data and how you're managing your data from a personal identifiable information, that's what PII is. And then if you're working outside of the US, there are some very stringent regulations. So I can't just do a blanket. The US is a little bit lagging, I think, in this space. But yeah, I would default to the more communication and awareness, the better, and have them acknowledge that. I think a lot of the companies are putting those accept our privacy policies. That's why you get those like accept all the times now, because guess what? This space is moving really fast and they're having to change their policies frequently on how they're using their data, where it's used, all of those things.
One more follow-up question relating to when you're training like ChatGPT chatbots, and you're dropping data into it. Is there like a cybersecurity awareness that like needs to be had, like reservation with it, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me show you how to handle that. So if you're on the pro version, this is you have controls
Let me just
over.
jump in real quick. You guys, I know we're over time, so if you need to drop, you're welcome to drop. But this will be recorded, so if you need to watch it back, but just for anyone who needs to leave, we are over time.
Oh.
But I don't want to cut off questions because this is a great question. So Trina, keep going.
Yeah. So if you have the pro version of ChatGPT, which I would suggest getting, like I use it enough, I more than pay for it, right? If you go to connection here is just so slow, sorry. When you bring it up and you go to the right hand corner and it's got your little icon here. And you go to, sorry, clicking too many times. Settings. And then down here on data control, oh wait, let's see. Data controls. And then see this improve the model for everyone. Just turn that off. It's just a toggle, turn it off. It does, then they can't train off your data. So the way AI works is the more data it has, like I was saying at the beginning, they have training models and the more data, the better the outcomes, right? So you can just tell it, don't use my data to train OpenAI. So you want to turn that off. And
So once you turn it off, it doesn't put your information onto the internet and
it's not going to go. And honestly, like, let's say you had it on, it's going into this massive aggregate, right? Their data set. It's
right.
not going to take your personal ID and post it publicly on a website that somebody else can get to it. but it is in their data set. If you say, okay, you can use my data to train, then it would be used within OpenAI and as a part of their aggregate training set.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, yeah. And a lot of the tools, so the other thing to know, I work with some other platforms that as new models come out, it's like a middleware, so you can do process like full process flows. Let's say I wanted to do this process of taking those files and making it a standard process I'm doing all the time. There's automated platforms now that I can pull in different AI. I can pull in Claude, I can pull in Perplexity, I can pull in ChatGPT, I can pull in Gemini, Copilot, whatever it is that I have access to, and run those models, and I can change them. And so there's a lot happening within what they call business process management that are great ways. If you're doing a repeated process, you can create those kind of process flows. And maybe that's another session we do at another time, but there's
Yeah, I was actually just talking about that yesterday with where I work, because there's a few things that I would love to automate in like our process stuff that we track and such, that it's so time consuming for my supervisors that I would rather just have that automated, but I don't know how to do it yet. Still figuring
reach
that out.
out to me and see if they want to hire us to come in and show them how. We do we take all the process flows. That's one of the biggest things, is figuring out what are the key repeatable processes that can be handed off to AI. And how do we automate those? How do we create AI agents for those, and really make sure that you can hand off the things that don't matter so you can focus on the things that do, right? And it's not necessarily, like I said, if you learn AI and you learn how to build these automated processes, that makes you extremely valuable. So don't ever be afraid of AI taking your job, because you're the ones learning AI, right? So that's your future.
What did you call it? Their build automated what?
Oh, it's a middleware that allows you to tie into multiple systems. It's the platform that I've been working with is called Enhanced AI. But you can do custom process flows and leverage various AI platforms. Yeah.
Okay, do we have any other questions for Miss Trina? Can we give her a round of applause? That was awesome.